Oh, Attack on Titan. How you play with our hearts, our moral compass, and our stomachs. If you're like me and you came to the manga after becoming super obsessed with the anime, you might have noticed that a few things were a little different. Well, I mean, you probably noticed that if you read the manga first too, but that's not what I did. We're gonna be covering the Fall of Shiganshina arc, which spans the first 2 episodes of the anime and the first 2 chapters of the manga. Simple as that. Even though that's a tiny little cut of what's to come, there's a lot of important setup here. After all, it's basically Eren's origin story. You know, giant titan shows up, busts through a wall, destroys his hometown, lets other giants in so they can eat his mom. You know, the usual. About that, it juts right outside Wall Maria. Interesting choice. So yeah, there are a ton of opportunities for the manga and the anime to diverge from one another. And what better way to start than with frame 1 and panel 1? That day, the human race remembered the terror of being dominated by them. Actually, the anime really milks that scene. In the manga, you get no cryptic birds, no barking dog, no fish splitting in half, no dramatic silhouette of the Titan's head, or ultra-close shot of Eren's pupil wobbling. Watching the first 2 episodes knowing where the story's headed is kind of fascinating, because you realize there's some subtle foreshadowing. After all, the anime had the advantage of knowing where things were actually headed. The first, but not as impressive example, is that during the scene where the scouts are ambushing the Titan in the forest, the anime has a super clear, he's gonna go for the nape, that's probably important shot. The manga just shows the Titan's back. By the way, the name of this branch of the military is actually a departure between the versions. Those of us familiar with the subbed anime know it as the Scout Regiment. Those of us familiar with the dubbed anime know it as the Scouting Regiment, while the manga calls them the Survey Corps. This divergence is because the Japanese name Chosa Heidan has no exact English equivalent. Heidan definitely means soldier group or corps, but Chosa is a little less straightforward. It can mean anything like investigation, examination, inquiry, survey. You get the point. There's another intense translation debate over the phrase Attack on Titan itself, but let's not open that whole mess. Anyway, there's an even more interesting bit of foreshadowing when Eren and Mikasa re-enter the town after Eren's sad dream. We immediately encounter a would-be monk preaching about how the walls are God's divine work and screaming how no one should defile the wall. And he's not the only one. The second episode also has a shouting religious guy towards the opening, in this case self-righteously reciting biblical verses as scenes of carnage and panic play out. He's probably a swell guy. After season 2, the placement of these religious fanatics right up front is very interesting, especially because neither of them appear in the manga. So now we're barely inside the wall with Eren, Mikasa, and a jovially drunk Hannes. Eren, however, doesn't think his comrade's drunkenness is so jovial. You also get the sense in the manga that Eren's yelling at the tip-top of his little lungs. Like, there's arguably a more emphasized looking yell bubble with bigger and bolder text than any reaction to any Titan. It feels like a little overkill. Personally, I'm glad the anime just made Eren, you know, reasonably anime level mad. In the anime, Eren's comebacks are a little less saucy. He just says they shouldn't call themselves a garrison. But in the manga, he says the garrison should call themselves the Wall Construction Corps. Hey Eren, sick burn. But in the manga, there isn't a random dude just chopping a fish in the middle of this conversation. Actually, I want to talk more about this fish, because this fish left an impression on me. In the scene, it's there and it's wiggling, and the moment Eren says, you know, what if the Titans were to come in, suddenly you get the shot of the fish, and they chop the fish, and then just... As a general rule, the anime tends to add a lot of extra details like this. You know, like the fish, which enhances the characters and the story. For example, you get more interaction between the Jaegers once Eren and Mikasa return home. Eren's mom even pulls on his ear, which, even though she's kinda mad, it's kinda cute. In retrospect, at least. That isn't the only semi-salty added interaction. Eren and Mikasa leave the house and subsequently save Armin from some bullies. Well, okay, Mikasa saves Armin. When offered a hand to get off the ground, Armin rather pointedly says, "I can get up on my own," which is definitely not shown in the manga the same way. The way the anime frames this scene has a way of emphasizing Armin's independence and confidence issues character arc, and that subtle change adds a lot of characterization to Armin in this moment. Our three child heroes then go to the waterfront for a nice exposition-filled chat. Ah, don't you love the goddess of exposition when she shows up? But Armin has a rather interesting extra line in the manga. He explains that the royal government has made interest in the world outside the wall taboo. Eren retorts, "That's because the king is a coward." We then cut to Armin looking incredibly thoughtful, saying, "You're right about that, but I wonder if that's the only reason." Kind of a conspicuous thing for a child to say in the first chapter, don't you think? Which is a bit of like a, wink wink, nudge nudge that you don't get in the anime. But such pleasantry can't last long because, oh no, it's the colossal naked titan. In the manga, he just appears immediately after Armin speaks, but the anime inserts a giant pause, no pun intended. We're talking no sound at all. But the biggest departure is the manner in which he appears. The colossal titan's arrival in the manga feels like an earthquake, probably because of his colossal footstep. More on that in a bit. But in the anime, there's something like a jolt of lightning right outside the wall. The impact of the lightning basically triggers an earthquake. If you've seen season 2, prominently showcasing that lightning-ish effect will seem like a very telling choice to you. Very telling indeed. But let's get back to the manga, because when I read this part, I swear I spent like a solid 3 minutes wondering how was it that nobody noticed that the colossal titan was even approaching? I mean, it's a giant. Did it lightly tiptoe its way towards the wall and then just announce itself? Okay, I know better now, but yeah, back then, that's how my mind worked, and I just didn't understand. There's also an extended back perspective shot of the Titan's kick in the anime, instead of the semi-crotch shot we get in the manga. So that's nice. Chapter 1 of the manga actually ends here. Chapter 2 opens with a very brief explanation of the history between humans and Titans, like episode 2 does. But through the inclusion of one panel, you get the sense that this explanation is being told in the future as part of what looks suspiciously like the disbanding ceremony or something. However, the anime instead wants to beat up your heart with Carla's death before the first episode is over. That scene's similar in both versions, although, weirdly, the shot of the Titan about to eat Carla is mirrored. Also, for all its added slow motion shots of Carla struggling, the anime mercifully spares us the shot of Carla being squeezed to death and having her legs dangling at odd angles in the Titan's mouth after it takes a bite. Instead, we just get her blood floating in the breeze, like the worst cherry blossom petals ever. Mikasa's reaction is a little different too. Although she grabs her head in the exact same way and has a minimally different translation of the same line, the anime exclusively treats us to a flashback of her parents' dead bodies. Which I appreciate, because the manga only shows her head throbbing, but it doesn't really give us any explanation or association as to why she says this again. So now we're in episode 2, the vast majority of which is anime original, like scenes of carnage in the beginning of the episode, and basically everything with the boats. In the manga, Mikasa and Eren get on the boat, the armored titan busts through the wall, Eren has his little shonen moment, and that's it. We immediately skip 5 years ahead. You don't even know if Armin's on the boat. He just shows up like a cadet later, and you're like, oh, well, I guess he was alive. The anime also fleshes out the armored titan, and even adds an attempt at cannon attack, so you get a better picture of just how screwed humanity is. Plus, in the anime, the character fighting to keep the gates open is someone we know and are somewhat attached to at this point, Hannes. In the manga, that brave defender is a mere silhouette who, in fairness, sort of looks like Hannes but could easily be anyone else. The anime makes it resoundingly clear that everyone, including the people in the boat, hears the armored titan's footsteps. Again, no pun intended. So let's take a look at the rest of episode 2. Extra scenes of titan carnage while on the boat? Not in the manga. Snobby government dudes? Nope. Nice little shot of Doc Yeager in the carriage. Crying? Nope. Struggles and starvation of the refugees in Wall Rose, featuring Eren lashing out at some guards and a charged conversation between our 3 child heroes? Nope. Farming sadness? Nope. The battalion sent out to reclaim Wall Maria, which is so freaking sad, guys. It's in the manga, but as a flashback with less detail. Also, Armin's grandfather or family is never mentioned in the manga. Forget the basement. Armin's family is the real mystery here. Literally, the manga jumps from, hey, we're on a boat, to, wow, we're graduating from military school. That's the end of chapter 2. Which begs the question, is the entire military training arc anime original? Don't worry, it's not. But it does come after the Boulder struggle, like a flashback. Wisely, the anime thought it best for the audience to meet everyone before they're dragged through hell and possibly killed. So that leaves the reveal of Eren's traumatic encounter with his dad. This happens at a different time too. In the anime, Eren has a nightmare about it while still a child refugee, when ostensibly not much time had passed since he fled in the boat. But in the manga, Hannes comes up to Eren on the night he finishes military training and casually asks, oh, hey, do you remember when you last saw your dad? Which causes Eren to relive the whole ordeal and pass out from the trauma. Thanks a lot, Papa Jaeger parental trauma. At least in the manga, we find out that Dr. Jaeger cured Hannes' whole family from a plague. Which is why Hannes wanted to originally pay back Eren's family, but then he saw that huge giant and, well, no. Can we blame him? But as far as the manga is concerned, that brings us into the second arc, the Battle of Trost, which we'll tackle next time. Okay guys, thanks for watching Get in the Robot, your anime explainer. If you want more play-by-play breakdowns of your favorite anime, be sure to check out our sister channel, Get in the Robot. I'll be covering My Hero Academia, Attack on Titan, Cells at Work, and way more over there, so subscribe.